talk to policemen, Bill blows up his campfire, and I'm gonna make a cabin cruiser out of pop bottles.
And here's a man who spends his whole life outside. Outside the house. Outside the norm. Outside the acceptable rules of behavior. That much I know for sure. Anyway, here he is. Mr. Outside. Red, green.
Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't have to be outside being Mr. Outside if Mr. Inside wasn't here inside. How are you tonight there, Mr. Inside?
I'm just peachy, oh so peachy.
Quite a few pits in the peach, I see. Well, it's been an interesting week up at the lodge this week. Old man Sedgwick really ticked off with Moose Thompson because Moose had wrecked his tool shed, but Moose said, hey, look, the roof must have been sagging down pretty low for me to be able to drive my car right up on top of it like that.
You know, actually, I saw Moose's car up there. You know,
yeah.
I thought it was a weather vane. You know, with the doors open, kind of showing the wind direction and all that.
Well, I mean, we had to figure out how to get it down there. It got real heavy and all, so what we did was we rolled up all the windows and then sealed them off with the bathtub caulking, and then we filled her with hydrogen. And, of course, this made it light enough, you know, the two guys could carry it. So Moose and Buster were carrying the car up the driveway, and Moose was so excited he lit up a cigar, and by golly, you know, hydrogen burns real well. And when the smoke cleared, of course, the car was gone.
Stolen?
Don't think so. But we didn't know where it was either, to tell you the truth, you know, until we looked up. And there it was, way up in the sky with Moose still hanging on to the back bumper. And she's dropping at 32 feet per second, right down into the middle of Possum Lake.
Wow! Wait a sec, whoa, wait a sec. That rusty old car's going to pollute the lake.
So will Moose, actually.
No, Harold, I told you, we had sealed up all the holes in the car, so it just floated like a fishing bobber. And so did Moose. Of course, his holes were sealed up from fear. And, you know, the car looked real interesting because it was upside down, you know, and it was fascinating with the wheels still spinning and the tires smoldering. And then a seagull went over and dropped a treat through the hole in his muffler. And we got the idea to have our own regatta.
A regatta?
A regatta.
Oh, a regatta. That's like when all the boats go by, right? And then people all stand there in their white suits and they salute, you know, from the poop deck.
Yeah, well, we had the poop deck covered, you know. This is a love song, more or less, for my wife. She's the best thing, or one of the better things, anyway, that's happened to me in my life. I'd say what I am because of her. But she wouldn't take that as a compliment. I find her to be perfect, or pretty close in a lot of ways. But she could back off on the criticism. That wouldn't hurt at all. Happy anniversary, Bernice. This week on Handyman Corner, we're going to show you some ways of recycling the old plastic pop bottles. Now, I know they recycle these into new plastic bottles, but that's got to be expensive when you figure they got to haul them away in a truck of some kind and then melt them down and rinse all the spit out of them and so on. And I'm thinking to myself, why can't we come up with a better idea that can use the pop bottles where is, as is? For example, why don't you just take a bunch of them and glue them all over your car? Down the door panels, the fenders, the bumpers, up over the roof, not over the windows. There's a safety tip there. And then once you got them glued on, fill them all up with sand. And what you have is your very own portable shock-absorbing crash barrier. Mind you, they're about the weight of a real good ripe watermelon, so that's going to cut into your gas mileage. But you got to say to yourself, hey, what is my life worth? And if the answer is more than $2 a gallon, go for it. Any more ideas? Well, I would think so. What about just cutting the bottom off one of these bottles? The various things you can do with that. You got a lovely soup bowl, or to my mind, call me crazy, but if that's not an attractive plant holder, then I'm missing the point of life. Or, you know, half a halter top, I suppose. Or I think this is a darn good little unit here. You glue a little rim on the end there, and you got yourself a little baseball cap that's the same color as your hair. Need a bit of a pea head for that, but just leave her in the sauna for an extra hour or two. One of the interesting properties of these bottles is that they are really built to hold liquid in, which means that they will also work real well for holding liquid out. So tighten the top up real good on that and cram one of these into each of the corners of one of these pop cases. And then what you do is you drag that up your arm and adjust that to be the size of the weight and flabbiness of whatever your triceps are. And then once you get them up here, you flip them up on top and they'll just sit up there. And what you have is an incredible pair of water wings. And they're extra safe because it's 8 completely separate flotation units. So even when the kids are shooting BBs at you, you're probably going to be able to make it to shore. And of course, once you've learned how to swim, you can just fill them with iced tea and cross the English Channel. Or what you can do is just take the one big 2-liter size and put that inside your bathing trunks. And that'll give you as much flotation as you'll ever need. And probably more attention than you'll ever want. If you have a whole bunch of these cases now, you could strap them all together and make yourself a raft or a floating dock or even a great big plastic island. It'd be a real eye catcher for the cottagers looking out the window, see that floating by during one of the heavier storms. But if you're the kind of guy who's like me, who has a whole lot of bottles and has a whole lot of time and doesn't have the kind of job where he cares what people think, I've got just a project for you. A pop bottle boat. Yo ho ho and a bottle of Diet Pop. When your friends see you in a cabin cruiser like this, they can only call you one thing: Popeye. Mind you, they may have a few other suggestions. And there's something else. If you do build one of these of your very own, you got to expect to be pulled over a few times by the Marine Police. Because they'll figure you went through a fair whack of booze to use up this much mix. You know, and some people just can't help looking at a boat like this and just assuming that alcohol was involved in some way. Now, as a bit of a safety precaution, when you go to pick your engine size, I would not recommend that you put the inboard engine in this. Certainly not a V8, or not even the Big 6. It's very difficult, to my mind, to safely attach a 700-pound engine to a polyethylene pop bottle. But that's just my opinion. You do whatever you want. I would suggest that you power up with your favorite carbonated beverage. You just shake her up, put your thumb over the end, shoot her out the back, and you got yourself a jet boat. And when the cruise is all done, you got enough bottles left to make yourself a flying bridge. Now, next week, we're going to show you how to make a boat trailer out of pop cans. But until then, remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Time for me to cast off.
And now is part of the show where we expose the 3 words men have such a hard time saying.
I don't know.
And here to prove the point on the expert section of the show, of course, is my Uncle Red and his good friend, Mr. Hap Shaughnessy. Letter number 1. Dear experts, last week my husband decided to save money by doing some car repairs himself. When he was done, our car was ruined. After they towed our 64 Valiant off to the junkyard, I found this lying in our driveway. Can you tell me what it is?
Wow, sure. That's a distributor cap. Obviously. Hey, everybody knows that, don't they, Harold?
Oh, yeah, that's a distributor cap right there. That's what that is, obviously.
Distributor cap, if only, Red. Lady, this is a prototype for a top-secret weapon developed by the Pentagon during the Nixon years called used to be written on here. Octopus Magneto Torpedo.
Well, I knew it wasn't a regular disruptor cap.
That's a deadly weapon, Harold. In the water, all 6 arms fly out, so it looks like an octopus, and all 6 highly explosive charges magnetically attach themselves to the hull of the enemy submarine and explode, breaching the hull and sinking the sub.
That's a robo-octo
Puss. Magnetol covered.
Oh, yeah? Well, how come the robo-octopus thing says Valiant?
It's just a code name, Valiant.
What about the spark plug? Or sorry, what about the explosive charges? AC Delco.
AC?